What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. A lot has happened since I last spoke. A lot to get into today. Been really big on the World Cup. That's been consuming most of everything, while some disasters have been happening with my other teams off in the background. But lots to get into today. Definitely going to get into the Yankees and just the absolute disaster of a week that they've had. Gonna hop into some Rangers NHL drafts thoughts there. The Knicks kind of doing a little bit of what people wanted them to do, and kind of shockingly so. And then we'll kind of circle things back up and getting ready for U.S. versus Bosnia tonight. So should be a good game. Gonna go watch that with some buddies. So go USA. Feeling good coming into the knockouts here. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But anyways, let's go ahead and dive in. So my goodness, since the last time we spoke, Yankees have taken a turn for the worst. Swept over the weekend by Boston, not looking, and it's continued with a piss poor effort from against the Tigers at home. Starting to show those chinks in the armor. A lot of those things that I kind of discussed last week were going to be a problem, and everybody knew was going to be a problem, but the Yankees had been holding their head above water pretty well, despite all of those very, very obvious flaws. And so, again, I guess it was to be expected, but, trying to remain positive, you don't want these things to happen, right? And again, it's a 162 game season. You're going to go through these stretches. So I want to preface with what I'm about to say with that portion of it. But again, with that being said now, it just feels like it's the same cycle with this Yankees team, with this manager, with this general manager. Just we're stuck in purgatory. We're in a never-ending time loop of hell. And people talk about a June swoon. It happens at different points in the year. There'll be some points where it's later in the year, some points when it's earlier in the year. And it is baseball. It is a 162-game season. There's going to be stretches. But it just seems that the Yankees, for some reason, in this Aaron Boone era, we go on these just absolute stretches where it looks like we don't know how to play baseball. I mean, it like guys just making terrible errors, and I get the injuries. And yeah, there are some injuries to very key players, obviously. Our best player, the 3-time MVP, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton. Chisholm's out now, Ryan McMahon, Trent Grisham. But, what's the excuse for the catcher position? What's the excuse? Austin Wells is hitting a $150. He's hitting a $150. He is statistically the worst hitter at any position in baseball. And that's not a surprise to me. He really hasn't been good since we brought him up. He's been an okay hitter at the very best. There's just no, there can't be a world where we seriously think we're contending for a World Series and the catcher position is not addressed. Again, we don't need a guy like, if we can get an Adley Rutschman, get a Ryan Jeffers, great, but we just need a guy that can hit 230, like someone who could put together a decent at bat. When Wells or Escara gets up to the plate, it just feels like if there's two outs, just take a break and go get a snack or something. These guys are just automatic. They're uncompetitive at bats. They're just uncompetitive at bats. So, again, it's one of those things where it is just like, my goodness, these are just clear errors that have been very apparent, and unfortunately they reared their ugly head. I think it will get better. It's just one of those stretches, but again, it just feels like every year, whether it's in June or some other month, we just go on this stretch where it's not a slump, it is a stretch where we just look like we don't know how to play baseball. And it just gets to the point for me, whether you're in the camp of keeping Aaron Boone or not. I'm not in the camp of keeping. I'm over the Aaron Boone era. I think we just need to move on. And again, whether you're in the camp of keeping him or not, at a certain point, what do we just look at it and say, man, it's been almost 10 years with this guy at the helm. We've gone through a lot of the similar cycles. Let's just change it up. I mean, look at others. I mean, John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh, he won a Super Bowl there, but like he went for a good stretch where he was super competitive but wasn't getting back to the Super Bowl with really good teams. Baltimore let him go. And like I think he's going to do a great job with our Giants. I really do. I think he's going to do a phenomenal job. But it gets to a certain point where, like, you know, jobs change, like times change. Sometimes a fresh start and a fresh energy is good for the team, is good for a franchise. And the same could be said about Brian Cashman as well. What are some other examples? I mean, another perfect example too. Look at Tom Thibodeau. I mean, Tom Thibodeau, I mean, I was in the camp of letting him go as well. And, you know, I didn't want to hire Mike Brown, but my gosh, like, look what happened. And I love Tom Thibodeau. He, like, you can say whatever you want about him, and I did want him to go, but he brought the Knicks back. Like, he was the spark that was the catalyst for bringing the Knicks back to where we are today. I don't care what anybody says. And I was in the camp of letting him go. Just because, I mean, the point of building these teams, it's to win. It's to win championships, not just win. And I get really annoyed when people are like, well, the Yankees are spoiled, like they win every year. We are. We're competitive every year. But at a certain point, if we're not bringing the World Series title back to the Bronx, what are we doing? Like, why wouldn't we try something different, you know, after a decade? And so, you know, and you know, going even beyond Boone, beyond Cashman, all the way up to Hal, like, I respect Hal. He spends the money. I think anyone that says he doesn't spend the money is not paying attention. Like, he spends the money. He does spend the money. I just think where he's starting to just piss me off is like, dude, we've had Cashman for 3 decades. For 3 decades. At a certain point, try something new. We haven't won a World Series now in 17 years. 17 years. And same thing with Boone. We haven't gotten it done with Boone. And I think there's a lot of that has to do on the players. The manager doesn't play. But I tell you one thing the manager does do. He makes decisions, and he's made decisions over his tenure that just have made no sense. And I think chief amongst them for me that really set the tone the last time we did make it to the World Series in 2024, bringing in Nestor Cortez when he hadn't pitched in over a month to face the heart of the Dodgers lineup. And I don't care what analytics say, and I'm not anti or pro analytics. I think they're helpful. I don't think you need to read them like they're the Bible, but I think they're important. But that was just not a good gut management position when you had Tim Hill, who'd been striking everybody out in your bullpen. So, anyways, I'm just now, as a Yankee fan, I'm just like, it gets to a point where it's tough to me as a diehard fan, wondering why we'll still keep. I mean, and listen, this season still has to unfold. I'm not giving up on this season. With that being said, we are getting those guys back. We're getting Fried back. We're getting Stanton back. We're getting Judge back. We're getting, Grisham. We're getting, hopefully some help at the trade deadline with serious bullpen help. Our bullpen is just absolutely pathetic, which is something I haven't really been able to say about the Yankees for a while. We've always, I felt like, had a really good bullpen, but it has gotten to the point of pathetic, and that's horrible. Our starting pitching is just getting to a point where our starting pitching is getting to a point now where they've been really carrying us, it feels like, but we just got to start getting guys that hit, man. We just got to start getting guys that get on base, that hit, that are aggressive at the plate, smart at the plate, and we just don't have that a lot in our lineup. And there's just so many guys. Like, I'm done with Wells. I'm done with Volpe. I'm done with Chisholm, for that matter. Like, and even McMahon. Like, I know McMahon's hurt and he plays great defense, but he feels like an empty at bat too. I'm hoping he's a guy that can, get it together at the plate, because I think his defense is commendable, is great, but it does get to a certain point where, again, we only have so much of Aaron Judge. We only have so much of Garrett Cole. That window is closing fast. And I mean, I don't know. I felt like even with Aaron Judge, like, he's hitting a lot of home runs this year before he got hurt, but he wasn't hitting for average, and I know he was hurt, so that might have something to do with it, but like it gets to a point where it's like that window is just going to decrease. Why wouldn't we go all in? Just why wouldn't we go all the freaking way in and just try to get this done in the next couple years here? Or else what's the point? What are we going to keep Aaron Boone past the Judge era and just let him flail out when we're trying to actually rebuild? I just don't understand. So, I don't know. Regardless of where you feel about it, I don't know. Baseball is by far the hardest game to over exaggerate because it is truly such a long season, and at the end, like, all that matters is October, and I genuinely believe that with all my heart. But it's just, we've seen this similar pattern where with the Yankees, it's those chinks in the armor that end up it's those chinks in the armor with the Yankees that just end up coming back to bite us, and what hurt us in the playoffs and what ultimately get us eliminated in an ugly way. We've never left the playoffs in a close series. Whenever we lose, it is ugly every single time, and it always has something to do with those deficiencies that we just never seem to get right during the year. So this is going to be like this is going to be another one of those turning points. Like, hey, it was a really bad weekend and it's been a bad start to the week. Can we get it together? Can we start stringing together some, 7-8 hit games? Can we, have a full pitching effort from our starting pitching down to our bullpen? I think, it can turn around quickly when we can just chalk it up to a bad 6 games, and we're now 2 games back behind the Rays again, which, again, I'm not worried about because there's plenty of baseball left to be played, and, that is just the highs and lows of the season. But what we can't let this turn into, especially, we don't know when Judge is coming back, but he might not come back for another month plus. So what this can't end up turning into is a July now where we are well below 500 and we're fighting for a wild card spot, because if the playoffs are a crapshoot, like, our general manager says it is, then you don't want to be in a wild card matchup. You want that first round bye. And I still think that first round bye is in reach, but we just got to continue to tread water and keep above 500 for July until Judge gets back and we get that firepower back in there. So we'll see. We got Detroit. And I know that stretch was just tough, and there's a lot of guys, too, that are just not hitting right now. Like, Cody's not hitting. Like, Ben's starting to, ever since Judge been out, has been like, he's still been good, but, coming back, but he needs that protection. Goldie's been a godsend. So there's guys that just, a lot of guys that can turn it around, and getting those players back will be an influx, but we've got to supplement this lineup somehow at the deadline, whether that's a catcher or an infielder at second, short, or third. Like, we've got to find another bat. We just cannot have so many. We will not win a World Series with some of these bats that we have at the bottom of our lineup. We have to find a way to get a bigger bat or 2 at the deadline and some bullpen help, or we're in trouble. And it's going to be the same old story. And we're going to get hot towards the end. We're going to flame out in the playoffs, and then that's going to be it. And then we're going to run it back. And I just again, it's getting to a point now where it's just like, whether you're in that camp of keeping Boone or not keeping Boone, I just don't see. After almost a decade of efforts, and given what we've seen, we've gotten a good enough sample size. If he does not get it done this year, if we don't fire him, that will be tough for me to respect and swallow as a Yankee fan. If we continue to move forward, if this man does not get the job done at the end of this year. So we'll see. I'm not writing off our season yet. There's a ton of baseball to be played, but there just needs to be some there needs to be some big time changes at the trade deadline. Screw our draft screw our prospects. Trade anyone of our prospects at this point. Trade anyone. Make this team better. Make this team the best version of what it can be going into October, and let's see if we can finally get this done. Anyways, that's what's going on with our Yankees. Moving on to the New York Rangers draft. Very happy with the draft. I thought we had some much needed. I loved our first pick, Smits. We need some great defense there. But I think obviously the big move to come out of that draft night was us trading for Pavel Dorofeyev from the Golden Knights. Um, it's a big move, and I want to preface that by saying I like that move. I think he had a great postseason run, scored a lot of goals. I think he'll definitely be, a good replacement, another Russian for Panarin, a good goal scorer. So I'm very happy with the move, and I'm glad we were able to extend him. It is hard to get excited about anything though with Chris Drury at the helm. I mean, just he is probably at this point either between him or Darren Muji with the Jets or David Stearns. Actually, there's a three-way tie probably for the worst GM in New York sports right now. But I think Drury might actually be the worst because when he took over this team in 2021, he took over a contending team, and they've had some good moments. When we went to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years ago and lost to the Panthers, I thought, okay, we'll be back. And boy, was I wrong about that. It's been a disaster, just, not developing young talent, trading away good pieces, trading away defense. Like he has absolutely positively not earned anyone's trust. Anyone's trust. He has not done a good job. They've had some years but he took over a contending team, and he has done nothing but tear this team apart. With that being said, you have to take each season as a life of its own. I don't hate what we did in the draft. I don't hate the move to get Dorofeyev. It's been a good offseason so far. We'll see what happens. It's still not over. I have a feeling there's still going to be some more moves that he makes. Again, I don't trust Chris Drury to do a good job right now. I just don't. And it's tough because, as a Yankees, Giants, Knicks, Rangers fan, now that the Knicks have won, I'm ready for that damn Rangers Stanley Cup to come back to the Garden, too. It's been over 30 years, man. It's been over 30 years since Messier and the boys brought the trophy back. That is the next one I'm waiting for. That is the next one. I want Sir Stanley's Cup back in the Garden right next to the Larry O'Brien trophy. Anything can happen in hockey year over year. So we might be able to get back. Again, I do like the moves, even though I'm skeptic, just because I'm skeptical about everything that Chris Drury does at this point. It is just he's just done a bad job. And there's really not much to be said about that. So we'll see. I thought we had a really solid draft, like some of the offseason moves, and I'm excited for next season. So anything will be better than this past season. But I'll tell you what, if Chris Drury continues on the path that he has been on, we're gonna turn into the Vancouver Canucks. Just plain and simple. So we'll see. Lots of positives to take away, though. Nothing really bad there. Lots of good stuff. Lastly, moving on to the New York Knicks. I mean, I think there has been a ton of surprise. No surprises, at least on draft night. Us trading away almost every pick we've had and just stashing some late second-round players to just stay under that second apron. And I can't believe it. We brought Landry Shamet back, and we were able to bring Alvarado back. And, there's still the Cat extension, which could create enough room to bring Mitchell Robinson back. And as a Knicks fan, I think you got to be thrilled with that for multiple reasons. One, we are truly going to if we can bring Mitch back, we are truly going to get to run it back with this team. And this was one of the funnest teams. This 2026 Knicks team was one of the funnest teams that I have personally had a chance to view in my lifetime. So the fact that we'll get to see that same iteration, have a chance to run it back is great. But also at the same time, there is that piece of, all those contracts that Shamet's, Alvarado signing, if we get to a point in the season where we might need to upgrade something, those are movable contracts, very movable contracts, easy to move. So I think, Leon Rose, the master, Mr. Rose, has done just a fantastic job so far this offseason. And this team, if I'll keep an eye out for the Mitchell Robinson news, but if we can bring back Mitch, I mean, who's to say Knicks back-to-back, it's a very real possibility. So that's it as far as updates for you this week. Appreciate you all for tuning in. Keep an eye on these Yankees here. Keep an eye on the NHL and NBA offseason moves. And go Team USA, and I will check in with you guys next week. Peace.